Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first East Midlands Chamber Business Awards webinar. This morning we'll be looking at how to overcome the barriers of entering business awards. So thank you very much for joining us. My name's Lucinda White and I'm the Director of Pure Awards Creative, and we're the only bespoke award writing agency in the region. And the reason why we've been asked to work with East Midlands Chamber is because we've got a track record of writing business award entries for companies, achieving success for them, and that actually is about 75% success rate of the awards that we write for our clients going through to shortlist or win. So it's pretty good, and we hope that we can impart some of our knowledge onto you today. We've got clients pretty much across the whole of the UK, and what our aim is to turn you into stars through entering business awards. So the purpose of today, we're just going to do a quick overview of the benefits of East Midlands Chamber Business Awards. We're going to look at some of the key barriers which you put down when you registered, but we're also going to look at some of the other ones that I've come across as well, and then give you some techniques on how to overcome some of the key barriers when entering business awards. And then there's next steps to go through as well. So the East Midlands Chamber Business Awards have been going for a number of years now, and as the Chamber has grown, obviously the competition has grown now as well. But they are the only awards in the region that have been delivered purely by businesses for businesses. They recognise success in the region across the full Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire and Leicestershire cities and towns, and being shortlisted for one of these awards will automatically boost your confidence, boost the morale within your team, which will increase productivity, and of course you'll get some added benefits of PR and all of that side of it, which you know, you can really harness and maximise for your business. These, like some of the other chamber awards, actually give you an opportunity to go through to compete on a national level as well. And the prize at the end of that for the British Chamber Awards is actually, the top prize for that is £10,000. So if you've got any queries as to whether you should be entering these or not, or thinking, oh, you know, maybe we won't enter this year after all, well, just think of the opportunity that that could bring. So being shortlisted for one of these actually gives you a stepping stone into that £10,000 grand prize. So, you know, it's not to be sniffed at really. So, you know, give it a good go, use all the lessons that we're teaching you today, take as much of it as you can away from, you know, and put it into your entry going forward. So why should you enter this year? Well, this is a fact that was done from a study which was done a few years ago, and it covered over 120 companies, and it tracked them and their progress after winning a business award, and it tracked them over a 3-year period. And even just after 1 year, they were showing signs of significant results in their business, from sales income growing massively. You know, and in some businesses, it could be up to 39%. So you just have a look at what that 39% could mean to you right now in your within just a year, just from winning that award, marketing yourself successfully going forward. You know, there's not just a small amount there which could make a difference to your business. It's quite a substantial impact. So another reason why you should enter this year is because they're free. So yes, you have a time cost, which hopefully you're going to overcome today with some techniques, but ultimately they're free to enter. And there's lots of categories in there that you can go for, and it's about making sure that you pick the right one, which again we'll cover shortly. We're offering a reduced fee, so if you do need a critique service, or you wanted to write it in full because actually you're really finding it a big challenge in the end, then, you know, do come back to us. We're there to help you. We're working in partnership with the East Midlands Chamber today to try and help as many more people enter this year as possible. Like we've said, it's a massive boost to your business, massive boost to your PR opportunities, and to your team and the morale amongst you. So, you know, there's lots of positive reasons here why you should be entering. So keep those in the back of your mind when you're struggling through the tough points going forward. Okay, so we've come across quite a lot of barriers. And these are some of the common ones, and I hear lots and lots of them as I talk to all different businesses about entering the awards, not just these ones, but lots of the other ones as well. So I want to say thank you for those of you who did put down the reasons to why you found it a challenge and what your biggest barriers are. And you're not alone. There's a lot of people with very similar struggles, and it's very common themes coming through. So we thought that this would probably, help pick up on those for you. So the first one I would say is probably the time issue. We're all very, very busy people, and time is always so precious. So that's a very big reason why people tend to not do these awards in the end. So it's just being aware of that and be able to manage that going forward. A lot of people always say the usual suspects always win, the big boys always win. You only win if you sponsor or if you buy a few tables at the dinner. The entry form is too complicated, not sure how to define our success, not sure which category to enter, and I don't know where to start, or I've got a lack of experience. So these are all things that lots of people say. So if you've mentioned any of those yourself, don't worry, okay? You're amongst friends, and there's lots of you out there feeling the same. So don't panic, and there's ways in which we can overcome them. But for the purposes of today, we're not going to cover all of them because we just go on forever. We do only have 40 minutes to get all of this done. So we're going to cover 3 key areas, and that's going to be time and how to define your success. And with that, we're going to look at how you can break it down, how you can break down what your content and what your story is, where you can start, and then also links in nicely with the category choice. And then we're going to look at skills and just some key skills on how you can keep on track of putting that entry form together. Okay, so the first key barrier that we tend to come across is time. And I think this is a really great quote here from Brian Tracy. It depends on how much you value and importance of an award entry. But if we look at what the benefits are, obviously that 39% increase potential into your business, the option to go through for that £10,000 prize, it's got a monetary value to it. So, that should help be the driver for this and be able to ensure that you do have the time. But time is a major challenge, and we do need to overcome it on a daily basis and master it by the minute. But what I want you to be clear of is never to underestimate how long it would take to put an award entry together. It's not a quick, easy fix, and you should never approach it in that way. And I know a lot of us always tend to go, oh, it's really last minute, and oh no, we've only got to put this entry in tomorrow, I've got to write 2,000 words. To be honest, I really wouldn't bother. It could be a bit of luck if you get through, but you won't have been able to have the time to plan it out properly and do it in the best possible way, which is a shame because there can be benefits from doing it. So on average, if you can, try to allocate between 12 and 18 hours per day per entry if you're doing it from scratch. And you need to ask yourself, how can I put 2 days into my diary to take away from my other core activity and focus on this? Who do I need to speak to enable that to happen? And so they have an awareness that you are focusing on something that is important for the business. Might not be urgent at that point in time, but it is important. And you also need to allow for a lot more time for editing and proofreading. This I would allocate probably a good half day for that side of things as well. So yeah, you're investing quite a lot of your diary, your time into this. Make sure that you can, you've got freedom to be able to do that. A little technique that I try and use as well is to try and change the deadline. So not obviously with award organisers, the deadline is actually the 31st of May for these, but you could bring it forward at least by a week. Potentially, there's option really, you've got plenty of time to bring it forward by a month. So if you look at being end of April being your deadline, you've got a massive buffer zone there. And if you finished it by the end of April, fantastic, get it submitted, you don't have to worry about it. Another thing to think about as well, which is about being maximising your time as effectively as you can. And that's by saving every version as a different document, say version 1, version 2, version 3. Because as you go along, you'll be condensing that content. You'll be making sure that it's more concise, you know, and within the word count. But you don't want to lose all of that good content that you've written right at the beginning, because you'll be able to reuse that for a future award entry as well. So make sure that you're saving different versions of it as you're going through, because otherwise you'll lose it and you'll have to rewrite it from scratch again from the beginning. Single handling technique is a great way of being able to manage your time. So if you don't already use this technique, then I would highly recommend that you start looking into it and do some research around it and find out how you can do it a bit more for yourself. But basically, it can reduce your time by spending on a project, whatever it is, by up to 50%, which is massive. So that changes that 12 to 18 hours down to 6 to 9 hours. Now that's huge. You know, it's a potential full day cut out of that time that you're having to invest in it. So it's definitely worth looking at. And basically, the essence of it is that if you concentrate single-mindedly on your most important task, you can reduce the time that you need to complete it by up to that 50% or potentially more. It's been estimated that the tendency to start and stop a task, pick it up, refamiliarize yourself with it, get yourself back into the mind zone and into the zone of doing it again. You can actually extend that time by doing that and just keep picking it up and putting it down and being interrupted all the time. You actually extend the time of doing it by potentially up to 500%. So you equate that with saving 50% by just being really focused on what you're doing. You know, I mean, the benefits are just huge there. So I do this when I'm writing business awards. I try to cut myself off from the world, basically. Wi-Fi is off, phones off, you know, they're out of the way, and people know that I need to sit there and get on with writing the awards. So if you have an opportunity to do that, and if there's a quiet office where you can go to and sort of lock yourself away for half a day to at least tackle some of the award entry, even if it's not all of it, approach each question with this particular technique, and you'll get much more done in a much shorter space of time. And the next theory that I'd like you to share with you, and this is something that I've been introduced to relatively recently, actually. So I'm in no way a guru on the Einstein time, but I found it fascinating, and I did want to share it with you today. And this has been developed by a guy called Gay Hendricks, who wrote The Big Leap, which again is a great book that I highly recommend you read or listen on audiobooks to. And basically the concept is that we need to move away from Newton time. So Newton time is what most of us live in now, and that's where we are owned by time, and that controls everything we do. So we find that we're consistently saying, haven't got enough time for that. Oh, we're running out of time. Oh no, I'm going to be late. Haven't done that. You know, and that it's because it's scarce, and we have no control over that particular time. What Gay Hendricks is wanting us to understand, and Einstein's wanting us to understand, is this Einstein time is when we start to control and own time, and ultimately become the source of time. And by doing that, and are able to increase our productivity in that moment by up to, again, 50%. So I would definitely recommend looking into this in a little bit more detail. It does involve a complete mind shift in how you approach time, but it means that you can actually start to extend the time that you do have. So it's quite an interesting concept. But Einstein uses the analogy that, you know, sitting on a hot stove can feel like a really long time because of the pain that you have at that time. But it could be, you know, versus the time that you're spending with a loved one, it can fly by and just feel like a minute when actually it's been hours. So our concept of time is very, very different. And what we need to do is try to then control time going forward. So this is a link here, which if you want to just make a note of, I think it would probably be really helpful. And he explains it a lot better than I do, I have to say. But this Tom Adams is a coach in America, and he gives it's just a 5-minute YouTube video, which you can go on and have a look. And he explains a little bit more about the Einstein time, but certainly that's something to have an awareness of and to try and utilise in all of our living going forward, to be honest. So some other helpful time management techniques in relation to the business awards. We've all heard that you get a 10-to-1 return on planning. Well, it's absolutely true. So the more you can put into the planning stages of putting your entry together, the research, the collation of that information, the better, because it will make your job a whole lot easier when you sit down with that single-minded attitude and technique to be able to then write up the content that you've got. Now, eat that frog. When I say that, if you've heard of Brian Tracy, who's the guru of time management, he talks about eating a frog for breakfast every morning. And what he means is all of us have got a really horrible thing that we tend to have to do every day or certainly once a week. And it's an issue, and it's if you imagine that particular challenge is this great big frog on your desk, and it's getting bigger and slimier and smellier the longer you leave it and don't deal with it. Well, award entries can be a bit like that, I will admit, and I know the challenges that a lot of people have with it. So if you imagine that the award entry is this great big frog on your desk, you know you've got to do it. It's a big piece of work. You've just got to get on with it. But I would suggest that you get that on with it as soon as you can at the beginning of the day, because it'll make you feel a whole lot better once you've achieved at least some of it and made some inroad to it early on in the day, rather than leaving it to the last minute. What we need to do is stop avoidance behaviour and just say, oh, I'll do it next week, or yes, I've got that in my diary, or 2 weeks down the line, and oh, I'm waiting for this, or finding an excuse not to do it. It's not going to help anybody. So again, take the responsibility, take the action, get on with it. You'll feel a whole lot better. You'll be a lot more productive, and then you'll feel a lot happier as well. So those are quite a concise top 10 time management tips here. There's quite a lot in here, so just go through each one. So we've mentioned about moving the deadline, and that's really important because it just gives you that buffer zone for any emergencies or anything that might be going on in the business. You can break down the criteria and define exactly what information you need, and then you can delegate the collection of that material out to your colleagues and team members with a specific date for completion, so that you are still working within your timeline. If you are asking for testimonials from external people, their urgency on that is not going to be the same as yours. So if you need to, write your own, because you know exactly what you want the testimonials to say, and then send it over to an agreed person, client, provider, etc., who might be able to then just sign it off and say, yes, that's exactly what I put anyway. Makes it a lot quicker for you, and like I say, you get the right information down there that you want. Block out at least half or a full day to write your entry. Apply the single handling technique, where you're turning off your Wi-Fi on your phone or not, turning your phone to silent, and even if you have to, move into a completely different room. Identify a person who knows about your business but who doesn't work in your business to be able to help you with a critique and give you proofreading and feedback. Give some parameters around that though. Say, you want it back within 48 hours and you need to have checked that we're answering the question for this, this and this. Making sure that you're being really clear about that. Because otherwise they could just go, yeah, that was great, and not really have read it properly in relation to the criteria. And then the last one is to block out that time in your diary then to adjust and amend and rewrite some of the content based on that feedback. So in terms of being able to deliver your award entry, there's quite a lot to think about. You approach it just as you would any other big project. Give it the time it needs to make it right, because ultimately you're presenting your business to a number of people here, and the PR that you can generate from doing this could be massive, and really worthwhile. Okay, so the next part of the barriers, I would say, is definitely being able to define your success. I know a few of you had mentioned this when you did put down for registration. So your business is a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, and all the pieces tend to be a bit at the start. But as you start to put them in the right order and click them all together, you're getting a really good result. But it's really important to understand each puzzle piece in its own right. And then you can then use those in each part of your award entry as well. So it's key things like looking at your vision, looking at what it is and where you are in terms of achieving it, what your vision statement is, are you doing everything you say you are in your mission, and if you're not, why not? Your USP, this is really important, and this is why this is where a lot of people find it difficult, is being able to find that point of differentiation. And if you don't have one, you need to find one. And you can do that by looking at your competitors, seeing what they're doing, identifying areas in which you could either tweak what you're doing, being different, being a bit more successful in certain areas, or focusing on a particular target audience or target market. Looking at pull, what motivates them, you know, how much time you're investing in your people development, what's the impact of what they're doing on the business, and you know, how much training are you providing, how are you engaging them, the impact that you're giving as well, what's the greater impact of what you do, not just on a, you know, within the business and within your target core group, but you know, what's the wider impact of what you're doing and how that's making a difference. And then how you get engaging with your community and with its people, and you know, how are you giving back? If you're not, then why not? Perhaps you should be. Look at ways in which you can, which aren't too costly to the business, but it's just going to, you know, increase your CSR, corporate social responsibility. So when you're defining success, you need to take some time out to review your greatest achievements in your business. And I would say for each one, have a look and write down and ask these questions. So what was the impact of that success? Did it generate you some more income? What did you do with that income? How did you invest it? Has it provided you an opportunity to expand? Are you developing new products and services? Are you being innovative in your marketplace? So you need to look at, you know, the real impact of your success and that particular success of that project. Then you need to look at how that's quantifying. And when I say how far can I drill down and analyze the success, so what I mean by that is, so you've got the financial growth, brilliant. What did you do with that? We employed some people, fantastic. That's one layer. What else did you do? What did that mean to the business? That meant you could expand your sales income, fantastic. You went into new markets, brilliant. What did that mean? And so do you see how many different layers you can continue to drill down until you get to, you know, the actual outcome of it all, and see the real benefit of what that initial successful project meant to the business. It's got a much deeper meaning. But that's just about the business. But then if you did employ that person, you have a look at what that meant to that individual. So what did employing that person mean? Did it mean that their families suddenly had security? They were able to move to an area which had better schools, which was able to improve the life chances of their children. You know, that's the more of the community side. So the impact of these decisions, of these successes within your business, is much wider than perhaps we just see on an initial level. And this can then help you achieve that point of differentiation. If there's a commonality there between the results, the final end results, then that can be your USP and what makes you different. But it's being able to drill down really far into all those areas and really identify which is the biggest success for you. So I would do that for each achievement within your business and just see what the outcome of that is. And I think, you know, it'd be quite fascinating results, and certainly give you some great PR stories along the way as you're going through that process. So looking back, is really important because every award entry is basically a review of the last 12 to sort of 18 months in your business. But you also got to look forward, and you've got to make sure that the category choice and what you're going for is going to be a good reflection of your business and one that you can market yourself successfully with in the future. You know, it's very important that you know, if you're looking to perhaps employ new people or open up a new department or open up a new franchise or etc., or you're looking, those are your future vision aspirations for the next 3 to 5 years, then, you know, getting something like outstanding employer or something that supports skills development within your workforce would be appropriate award entries and categories to go for, because that shows your success working with people, and ultimately you're going to be wanting to do a massive recruitment drive in the future, so it reflects nicely and gives you something that you can utilise effectively in the future. So these are some of the categories here that we've got to, well, in fact, I've listed them all through the next few slides. It just gives you an idea of what they're looking for in terms of the criteria. Now, within this whole process, you do have a separate entry form that you need to complete as well. And that has key questions in there, which is asking a bit more detail about the business, and then particularly in relation to this. So you need to have an awareness of the criteria that's here, just as much as you need to answer the questions on the entry form as well. But when you're looking at the criteria, you need to be writing down the key points which come out in each criteria. So, say for Employer of the Year, you've got true commitment to people development, implementation and promotion of a learning development culture. Well, those are two key things there. And you need to be able to separate those out and have a case study effectively for each of those key points, because those will help you when you are putting together the entry form itself. So ask yourselves questions like, how have you achieved that? Who was involved? What investment was made to make it happen? What has been the return on that investment and the ultimate impact of it? And which testimonials and evidencing tools, statistics, etc., can we use to best demonstrate that success of that particular project, to demonstrate that particular criteria point? These are some of the other ones that you can go for. Obviously, it shows the difference in the kinds of entries that you can put in. International trade, growth performance. Small Business of the Year is probably going to be the most popular one. It's up to 75 full-time employees, which is obviously quite a big small business in respect of most small businesses. So it is quite open. But if you are a very small business, don't be discounted by that. You know, providing you have shown consistent growth and you've got a strong financial performance, and you have a very clear understanding of what your market is and your market share and your competitors and how you fare up against them, there's absolutely no reason why a small business of, say, 10 people shouldn't compete at the same level as somebody that's, say, got 70 people.